It took me 1 year to unlock my first front lever pull-up, but then it took me only 3 months to unlock my first ever front lever combo of 2 seconds of front lever touch to 2 pull-ups to 1 front lever press. And no, it's not by spamming some bullshit volume or following some secret front lever progressions that you see from the cookie cutter tutorials on YouTube. In fact, I started training less, but by understanding the biomechanics of calisthenics skills, that's when my progress skyrocketed. Not only in front lever like I told you, but in planche as well. Going from bad form advanced like barely 2 seconds to straddle planche in the span of 2 months. And I did it while balancing a full-time school and then working for another like 5 to 6 hours a day on my business. But I've seen so many people struggling for so long without making any progress. And in this video I'm going to break down the core principles behind learning skills into the 5 fundamentals I implemented to make such progress without sacrificing any of my work, without burning out, and without living in the gym. So if you're serious about unlocking the front lever and reaching a new level in calisthenics, I'ma need you to lock in because this is the exact video I wished I'd had when I was starting out. Now, before we move on to the first fundamental, I need you to understand one very important concept. And if you don't understand it, you'll never progress as fast as you could in calisthenics. And I hate to break it to you, but you're not stuck at the front lever because of muscular strength, muscle size, or any of that. And so, more time under tension, aka more volume, will not help you in any way to unlock the front lever or any other skill in general. And right now, to show you why I'm so confident in that concept, I'll give you a very simple example. And by the way, this concept is backed up by studies as well. And so, there's powerlifters with insane shoulders, you've seen them, with insane shoulder strength, and they can literally shoulder press like 150 kg or 200 kg. But none of them can't even fathom doing a straddle planche. Why is that? Do they have the strength? Yes, of course. But what's the actual limiter? It's not the shoulder strength, it's not the tendon strength, it's their central nervous system. So remember this, progress in skills is primarily about neural adaptation. And this is how your central nervous system recruits, coordinates, and stabilizes all of your muscles, tendons, and everything else in your body. And it's about squeezing the most amount of force out of the muscles you currently have. And so you can see someone skinny like me or someone even skinnier than me who can do a full planche presses and all of that. And it's because their central nervous system has adapted to the skill. And I'm repeating this twice because all of your training, all of your structure and everything else revolves around neural adaptation. So now let's move on to the first fundamental that's the base of everything else. And it's called specificity. And the idea is very simple. You can't learn a skill if you don't directly train for it. And so you should be very specific and clear with your goals and how you work towards your goals. So for most of you right now, your main goal would be the front lever hold. Whether it's the tuck front lever, the advanced tuck, or the full front lever, it doesn't matter. And so everything else, the front lever presses, the front lever drops, or anything else dynamic comes after the front lever holds. So you start your workout with front lever holds. However, doing only front lever holds may expose some weak links. And what I mean by that is, if you're only doing front lever holds, find out that your activation in your lat, in your scapula is bad. And you're sinking into protraction instead of being well retracted. And with that, you should go back, step back progression, or use the resistance bands to actually fix that bad activation. And I know when it comes to regressing 1 or 2 progressions, may fucking hurt your ego a lot. But if you do it now, you'll set yourself up for success in the long term. So from this fundamental, remember this. Prioritize the exact skill you're trying to learn right now. If you're doing holds, do holds first. If you're doing front lever pull-ups, start with front lever pull-ups. But remember to add other variations as well. Now you know what to do, but how do you actually integrate that into your structure? Which brings us to fundamental number 2, intensity. Like we talked a minute ago, learning skills isn't primarily about muscular strength, muscle size, or any of that, but it's about neural adaptation. And so volume just fatigues you without adapting. And so your central nervous system adapts when it's forced to operate at near maximum outputs. So right now you may ask, Alexi, how the hell am I supposed to train for neural adaptation? And that is fairly simple. You do that through training through sets of your hardest holds, holding them for no longer than 2 to 5 seconds. Yes, it sounds low, but like I said, your central nervous system adapts through high intensity. So right now, if you're at the tuck front lever and you can hold it again for 5 to 10 seconds, then it's time to move on to the advanced tuck. If you can hold it for 5, move on to straddle, and so on and so on. And like that, intensity doesn't overtrain you because it lets you recover. And so the way you structure intensity is fairly simple. As a standard, you do between 4 and 6 sets per workout with 5 to 8 minutes in between sets. And recovery is very important. And like that, you aren't doing too much volume, so intensity lets you recover. And that method works 100% of the time because, like I said, when I started at 2 seconds of very advanced planche, I went to straddle planche in the span of 2 months. And I didn't do it by mastering the straddle planche because I know people who are stuck at 15, 20, or even 25 seconds of advanced tuck, but they couldn't still do the straddle plunge because that's a whole another skill. Which leads us to fundamental number 3, frequency. But before we get into the frequency, you may have heard about athletes training 3 times per week and completely destroying themselves when learning skills. But the truth is they aren't actually learning skills. Those are very advanced athletes who are looking to master a particular skill because their central nervous system has already adapted to whether it's the front lever or any other progression. And so they need more muscular strength, so they need more time under tension, and they need more volume overall. But the mistake I've seen so many beginners make is think that they need to train until failure, completely kill themselves 2 or 3 times a week to make progress. But in that case, you'll fry your nervous system. And that's the reason you may feel recovered on certain days, but still underperform. And so this method of training completely contradicts how your central nervous system adapts. And the best way for your central nervous system to adapt is like you learned walking. You need frequent, intense exposure. And so the most practical and overall the best way to learn a calisthenics skill is by training as frequent as possible, so 5 to 7 times per week. Some athletes even train it twice a day. Another way of training is having 2 workouts per week, again not too brutal, and in between having grease the groove. And in brief is training the skill with a lower intensity throughout the whole day so that your central nervous system can adapt to it like walking, because you're walking every day and you don't have to think about it. But is actually intensity the only training method that you need? Which leads us to fundamental number 4, periodization and structure. And the truth is, no, you can't go about it only using intensity. You also need volume, because yes, intensity unlocks skills fast, but actually making them stable long term, like the advanced athletes I mentioned, you need to do it through volume and time under tension. And honestly, that's exactly how I made the most progress and actually unlocked the front lever combo I mentioned in the beginning. And so in your training, you need both intensity phases, which unlock skills fast, and you also need volume phases, which helps you master the skill long term. So how do you actually structure volume training? And it's fairly simple. As a standard, you do 3 workouts per week with more sets in total, so you need more time under tension, and with longer holds between 5 and 20 seconds, which depends on your level, depends on the skill, etc. And as for the rest times, you leave them the same or sometimes even longer, so you can actually recover because the sets are longer and you have more tension throughout those sets. But how do you actually structure periodization correctly? It's usually done through 5-week blocks when you have intensity phases, volume phases, and a deload phase. And an example of this could be 2-2-1, so 2 volume, so 2 intensity, 2 volume, and then 1 week of rest. Or it could be 3 weeks of intensity, 1 week of volume, and then 1 week of deload. It really depends again on your level, on recovery, and also your body. However, what I've seen so many people do, which I cannot ignore, is that they think they're applying all of those principles, but in practice they actually aren't. So make sure both your preparation, so your learning, and your execution are on point. Which leads us to the last but most important fundamental. There isn't and will never be one size fits all. And of course, all of those principles that I mentioned before, they have proven biomechanics, science, and everything else behind them, but they aren't applied in the same way to every single individual. Because, for example, you personally may need more recovery, you may need more volume, or in other cases, you may need more intensity and more failure to actually unlock a skill. But everything is individual. But from this point on, it's only on you. It's your duty to experiment, to try, to fail, and actually see what works and what doesn't for you. Because right now, it might cost you a few months of progress, or in the worst case, a few injuries. But this is the only way you can actually ensure that you'll make progress long term. Because like I said, there's no one size fits all. So that's it from today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'm giving you all of this value. But if you don't implement it, there's no fucking point. So be sure everything you know, everything that you found valuable, add it right now to your program, experiment, and take it from there. Now, if you want to take your calisthenics skills to the next level without stressing about doing the right things, you can book a call with me down below or just hit me up on Instagram and we'll take it from there. See you on the next one, brother. Peace.